One of the things that I wanted to also talk about with you guys is, of course, Anthony Albanese has made much of the fact that the Biloela family is back in Biloela. Of course, both the parents failed all of the refugee tests, but ultimately, because they had kids while in detention, they are now out and are in the community. Now, Anthony Albanese went and met them, photos, all the rest. Now, Richo, I understand why this one family is something, but if right now we've got, our fourth boat coming from Sri Lanka, what's the message being sent back to Sri Lanka?
Well, I think you've got to be consistent in your message, and sometimes that means being harsh. And I hope there are no more families going back to Biloela or anywhere else. I mean, what you've got to do is stand up and say, right, if you don't enter properly, you don't enter. Out you go. And you can't start listing the exceptions that you're prepared to make, because as soon as you make one, there are lawyers out there who'll spend a couple of months working out how to drive a truck through it, and you just open up the doors again.
Yep.
And that's our problem. You'll always have enormous pressure from the legal profession to keep going on this because they love it.
Well, and Jacinta, the problem with the system as it is if it's sort of one boat every couple of days, you can turn that around. And the Prime Minister has said previously, you're not going to need offshore processing because we'll turn everyone around. Well, if it's 2 boats, 4 boats, 6 boats, at some point in time something goes through. Sure, they end up in offshore processing, but then the legal situation kicks in, and if you form a relationship like this family did, well, then you create this giant legal question mark where it doesn't matter about mum and dad. The decision was made in favour of the kids.
That's exactly right. It's dealing with a very dangerous situation, set of circumstances. And, you know, Australia has got incredible goodwill when it comes to asylum seekers coming to this nation. You know, we have got some of the highest rates of allowing asylum seekers to resettle in our nation in comparison certainly to other nations around the world. But let's not forget that between 2009 and 2013, we had 38,000 asylum seekers come to our shores and 300 deaths at sea as a result. I mean, we cannot afford for this to take place again. We cannot give any sort of inkling that there might be opportunity for asylum seekers to come here, because ultimately, asylum seekers themselves will be the biggest losers in the situation. They will miss out, and the people smugglers, once again, will ramp up, and they will be the ones taking advantage of vulnerable people, of vulnerable asylum seekers. And, you know, it's a lose-lose situation all around.